morning, good afternoon, and or good evening. What's going on, and welcome to the Mac Files. As you are all probably well aware, the Siege of Orgrimmar raid has been fully open for a while now, so everyone has had their chance to get in and see that raid, kill Garrosh, and see that ending cinematic. In this video, I shall discuss my feelings about this ending and how this affects the story and what we're going to see coming next. Now, just a forewarning, if you have not yet seen this ending cinematic and don't want to know what happens until you do it yourself and wish for the ending not to be spoiled, be aware that I am going to discuss it now. So if you don't want any spoilers, you may want to turn the video off. Okay? Are you still here? Excellent. That means you must be interested. Anywho, we got a lot to talk about here. So from the top, we see Thrall telling Garrosh that he is disappointed with him, which is important to note because that is the same thing he said in the Ulduar patch trailer back in Wrath of the Lich King. He says this right before he's about to smash his face in with his big-ass hammer. But interestingly enough, his strike is blocked by the sword of none other than King Varian Wrynn. This was a shock because if you've been playing since at least Wrath of the Lich King, you know that Varian hates the Horde and wants to see them all dead, so it shows a massive character progression that he no longer acts so heavily racist against the Horde members, which I find very interesting, because you know I am a predominantly Horde player, so I remember in places like the Trial of the Crusader, Varian just being a huge scumbag to you. So he's definitely come a long way there. Now the first really interesting thing I find is that Taran Zu comes in and says he wants to put him on trial. And if you notice when you first quote-unquote kill him, Garrosh, that is, it doesn't say that he's dead. It says he's unconscious. This is the first boss, or any boss as far as I'm aware of, that we do not kill. Illidan, dead. Arthas, dead. Deathwing, dead. Garrosh, they kept alive. Why did they do this? Well, I think they obviously are not done with Garrosh, and he might appear sometime in the future. What he's gonna be, we don't know yet, but I'm very interested to find out. Big news for the Horde! New War Chief Vol'jin 2013. So, Thrall insinuated to Vol'jin that he should be the new War Chief because of his efforts to keep the Horde together during Garrosh's madness, and told him that if he leads, Thrall will follow. Vol'jin, being very humble, accepts this new title, and the rest of the Horde leaders acknowledge this change. Peculiarly enough, Sylvanas just gives him a very slight head nod, but we'll get into that later. During this moment, Jaina is still royally pissed off about Theramore and advises Varian to take them out right here and now. Fortunately, Varian does keep his cool and lets the Horde go on. Of course, giving them a stern warning not to do that again or we'll eat your babies or something. So he calls for a ceasefire for the moment. Now what this means is that the Horde and Alliance conflict will probably not be as heavily focused upon in the next expansion. So what's happening now? Well, after the cinematic, you can talk to the Horde and Alliance leaders standing around, and some of them have some interesting things to say. Now I did this on my Horde character, so this is what they said to me. Thrall says, "I thought Garrosh was ready. I thought the mantle of War Chief would give him perspective. Of the many problems facing our people, he saw only one solution. His vision of the Horde brought us to the brink. It is time for a new direction. Vol'jin will take us there. In many ways, he did not want this responsibility, but I think that he will make a better leader." Basically just Thrall giving Vol'jin his endorsement saying, yeah, I kinda effed up with old Garrosh Hellscream, but I got better hopes from VJ. Lore Walker Cho tells us that in defeating Garrosh, we have destroyed the Shah that plagued Pandaria, and the last breaths of Yasiraj has been vanquished. If you follow the quest after you defeat Garrosh, we see a cinematic showing us that Emperor Xiaohao tells us that we done good and dispelled the Shah forever from the land. Varian simply tells us he ain't got nothing to say to us, but he feels that this may be a new beginning. This further points to the fact that the Alliance and Horde tensions should subside slightly in the future. When you talk to Anduin, he says that he thinks his paps did the right thing and that if he listened to Balls to the Walls Jaina, then we may have been returning to the internment camps like in old Hillsbrad. Interesting to note that he says, quote, "We disposed of a warmonger and replaced him with a leader we can work with. It's our only chance for peace in the future." Old Andy really wants to work towards peace, and once again the tensions should subside in that sense. But in the end of the day, it is Warcraft, and there will never be a true peace, because that would be boring as hell. Honestly, really. The other leaders just say basically piss off, but when you do talk to them on the Alliance side, the more interesting ones are how Tyrande says that she and Varian did discuss what they were going to do, which illustrates the strength that the Alliance has in their decision-making, as opposed to the Horde. Of course, Jaina's still pissed off and wants to kill everyone. Sylvanas. Sylvanas says that she refuses to take orders from a troll. but then she says he has proven to be impossible to kill, which she does admire. Lastly, she says that it's time to test what he's made of. Now we all know Sylvanas is one crazy-ass bitch, and she only uses the Horde to further her own needs. Will she become a big bad villain? I think it's highly possible, but that's nowhere in the near future. One thing being we just got rid of a Horde leader, but she's definitely got some things up her sleeve. Gallywix be all like, Vol'jin's one tough mofo, and he thinks Vol'jin will provide him and his people with security, and of course, that profit. Lor'themar Theron puts his faith in Vol'jin, but it's important to note his glance at Sylvanas, then comments, assuming he can hold this Horde together. This lets us see that Lor'themar Theron is definitely on to Sylvanas and may be a threat to her in the future, and she might have to take him out, but we'll see what she does next. Bane simply tells us that we're all in this together. I'm sure he's pretty happy because Garrosh did finally see justice after him killing Cairn, his father. Alright, and our glorious new war chief tells us to stand tall and that we have saved the soul of the Horde. Obviously still collecting himself and getting ready for what's to come. Now when you return to Wrathion, he gets a wee bit testy. He says that Varian is a fool for letting the Horde go, and that he could have united everybody under the Alliance banner so that we would stand united against the Legion whenever it is to strike Azeroth. Now, I know people are all like, why did Varian let the Horde rebuild? Why not take them out? Well, it's Warcraft, and for the sake of it being a game and working, you can't just get rid of one faction because that would kill potential future conflicts and the PvP backdrop, not to mention pissing off a lot of players. So, all in all, I think they handled this ending very well, and I am really satisfied, and even more curious to see where we're heading next. And that is what happened during Hellscream's fall and the aftermath. Where we go from here is a less tense Alliance and Horde conflict, and may join forces to tackle next big threat, whether it be the Legion or whatever. Alright, that's all folks. I hope you enjoyed my reaction to the Mists of Pandaria ending, and are just as pumped as I am to see what's happening next. So, until next time, this is MacFiles signing off. Take care.